Hey, GLP-1 Plus SideZ community. Before we jump into the podcast, please take the time to leave us a 5-star review on whatever audio platform you're listening to the podcast on. Share your story and how the podcast has helped you. This will help us get referred up in the audio platform so that we can reach more people that need our help, our support, and guidance from our doctors. Help us get loud and change things. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise." That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Welcome.
Yes.
To the first
Okay, I was like waiting for it. Record, and there it is.
We're cool. It's there. Hey, Kat.
What's up, Kim? Your hair looks fabulous.
Oh, thank
Is
you.
it,
It's the new wavy tool that I
is
sent
the
you.
beach waver wavy thing?
No, it's like
Oh.
the inexpensive Tymo beach
Oh.
waver thing. Link in bio. No, I'm kidding. It's great though, and they're a very good brand to work with. Side note, or maybe front note, I don't know.
Front note.
So hi guys. So Kat and I really wanted to do an episode, and we've had many people ask to do something like this, where we worked with some experts around kind of the mindset, right, of GLP-1s, and especially going into the holidays. Kat and I last year, definitely like when that came around, obviously in America, especially, right, all holidays are usually centered around some sort of gathering with food, right? Or lack of food, as someone mentioned recently that I will introduce in a minute, right? So I think that as we go in and we're on GLP-1s, or maybe we had surgery, whatever it is, like we should try to think of some ways that we can work through that. And so I wanted to bring on some experts today to help us, so that when we're done with this episode, you will think, okay, these are some things that I can actually apply, right? And be able to enjoy the holiday, right? And not be feeling judged or, working through all of the emotions that come with this. Okay.
The emotional sides of the plus sides.
Oh, nice, Kat. I like it. Let's invite in our experts. It's going to be a roundtable discussion.
Copywriting.
Yeah, right.
My copywriting days. Yep.
Exactly. And we'll have them introduce yourselves. So hang tight. Here we go. Well, hello, ladies. How are you?
This is exciting.
Very
It's always so good to see you guys.
Yes.
So good to be here.
So you have met, of course, many of you. Dr. Joy's been on our show several times, talking about, she's a community member, but also a counselor that helps a lot with people who are struggling on this journey. It is a struggle. Like, I don't care what anybody says. It's hard. It's not easy. That easy way out thing is horseshit. And and then Dr. Rachel's been on our show before as well. And well, let's do this. Dr. Rachel, tell us a little bit, for people who haven't maybe seen that episode, about who you are and how you help people. And then Dr. Joy will do the same with you. Okay? Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you today for today's discussion. So I'm a clinical psychologist out of New York City. I'm also a speaker and a licensed, oh my gosh. I'm not a licensed, I mean, I am licensed. I'm a licensed psychologist, but what I meant to say was I'm also clinical assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. It is a mouthful, which is why I said that wrong. So I am in New York, although I am licensed in a few other states as well. And I see private clients dealing with body image concerns, obesity, stress management, burnout, etc. I also do a lot of speaking engagements related to obesity, GLP-1s, body image, and things like that. So I'm so excited to be here with all of you to talk about this important topic as the holidays are really just around the corner.
Right.
Yeah.
And something else for Dr. Rachel, if you don't know, like she was on both of the, or two of the like Oprah specials where she was talking about GLP-1s, which was fantastic. And y'all know I got me some Oprah stuff, so I'm all kinds of jealous. And
yes,
but I trash Weight Watchers so much, I feel like it's probably never gonna happen, but that's okay. I'm dealing with it.
It's a great episode to process it, you know.
That's right. Yeah. Maybe that should be the next episode.
Maybe so. Yes.
We can set that up if you would like.
Yep.
And then also you were consultant for the movie The Whale about obesity.
I was. Oh my gosh, I forget some of the stuff that yes. So I consulted on the film The Whale that Brendan Fraser won an award for. Yeah. So that was such a fabulous and really interesting experience. Yeah.
He is on my list to get, but he has no socials and I can't find him.
Yeah.
One day.
He's a hard one to get in touch with for sure.
No. One day. Yeah. I don't know. It's a dream. We'll get there.
Yes.
Brendan, Oprah, it's fine. Sure. You got to have goals, right? And Dr. Joy, can you tell us about who you are and how you help people?
Sure. So I am a licensed professional counselor and national certified counselor. I've been working as a nonprofit CEO in the addiction field and mental health, mostly for people who are marginalized in our society, who can't afford the help that they need. For about 25 years. I'm kind of a geek about addiction and brain science, and definitely all of that ties into my food stuff. I am a, adjunct professor for Columbia University Teachers College. I teach mindfulness and self-awareness. I do weight loss support groups, mindset coaching for various telehealth companies. And I've lost 197 pounds. I've been maintaining that for about 6 months, using GLP-1. And after literally on the day of my gastric bypass, I had lost exactly 100 pounds in 11 months with Mounjaro. Wow. I probably, that's good. That's enough. I'm not the kind of doctor who can write prescriptions or give medical advice. I have a doctor of education and executive leadership. So,
okay. So you're an educational doctor.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Listen, it all counts. Okay. So I like it. Highly educated people that can teach us better ways. That's what I'm looking for. So I love that you're here. Yes. Fantastic. All right. So now that we've done that, I just want to sort of kind of dig in a little bit. And I got kind of sucked in, but not sending Kat her question.
And I'm just here. I could just wing it because let's just get things started. But without starting a fight. Okay, it's November.
Yes, it's November.
We are post an election season, an election year, so emotions are already pretty freaking high, right? They're going to continue to be high. And then we are in the season of eating, some cases not eating. What are some things that we need to keep in mind to keep ourselves, or to give ourselves grace and to keep our sanity and, not hurt your family member on Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
That's just a joke.
Well, yeah, but I mean, kind of though, like that happened to me last year. So people spend so much time making dishes a lot of times at Thanksgiving. And when you don't eat a lot of it, or you don't eat a lot of food, or you don't eat any of it because you just aren't interested, sometimes they take it very personal and it's hard. And then you have to have the discussion. I'm on the GLP-1 and I don't have an emotional relationship with food anymore. And I just kind of eat because, I need to, right? And that's really difficult if they don't
hurt
get
their feelings. Yeah. And I think about it. My grandmother-in-law, it was a couple years ago. She said, you're going to hurt your, aunt's feelings if you don't eat her cake. And I was like, okay.
And you really don't. It's very hard for people to understand why.
Yeah.
that looks
I
like
have some good tips for that because I have
Let's
to
do
do
it.
it in a very real way in my life. So
excellent. Okay, we'll start with you, Dr. Joy, and then add in Dr. Rachel. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll address that part and leave the very fun front part of that question for Rachel because I can't wait to hear what she has to say. But for me, for the hurting people's feelings, like your host's feelings, I just don't. Like, first of all, number one, depending on where you're at in your weight loss journey, it is apparent to people. Depending on your size or whatever, people can see that something has changed. They can see that you've lost weight. So maybe they won't give you such a hard time if they're listening, or if they know that addressing people's weight is not like the best thing, like to ask people about what they're eating. Maybe we're hoping that some people have gained this awareness in the past year. But if they haven't noticed, or they don't have the awareness that asking about it or trying to force feed you isn't okay, first of all, I've put my plate, like with all the lovely, like I make a lovely plate of Thanksgiving food. It's going to have all the dishes, all the carbs, all the good, fun yumminess, and it's going to look beautiful. So no one is going to be like, now I might not feel it as full, like stuffing it, but no one's going to look at my plate and say, oh gosh, why isn't she eating? So first of all, I'm not going to draw attention to myself on the front end of life. And then I eat very slowly. I chew very well. I put my fork down between bites. I do break a bariatric surgery rule about drinking while I'm eating because my doctor said it's okay for me because I'm doing well. But I take my time. I'm like engaging in conversation. I'm just spreading out the eating over a longer period of time. Like in my family, there weren't always enough chairs. So it's kind of like important to finish and move along so someone else could sit down. And so I try to avoid that kind of scenario. I am not rushing. And then I'm moving my food around. I'm taking bites. People aren't noticing my behavior, that I'm not sitting there not eating while they're stuffing their face. So that's like another way that I fly under the radar. I'm not drawing attention by literally not having a fork in my hand. And then the only place where I could get into any kind of altercation about it is when I'm literally standing up to go give the plate to the trash can or whatever it is. And if someone nabs me, chances are they haven't been watching me. You could say, oh, this is my second serving, or I'm going to come back for more later, or can I wrap this to go because it was so delicious and I've already eaten so much. They don't know. They're not watching. Like it's like I've been sitting at the table for a half an hour. They don't know like how many times I went back. You might get up and walk in and go get another cracker or go fill your drink. So it looks like you're moving around and blending in. I just want to fly under the radar. I don't want to have a conversation about GLP-1 and my emotional relationship with food at the Thanksgiving dinner table. And further, we don't owe anyone that.
No,
true.
So I love all of that you just said, Dr. Joy. And I love that you kind of said that you want your body, your eating, your weight to like not be the topic of conversation, right? And by kind of flying under that radar, I think is a great approach. So I really love all of those ideas and those tips. And I was just going to add that I think in addition to that, like I always like to tell people to be prepared, right? So I think having the plan that Dr. Joy just suggested is amazing. And then I think what I would also think about is who are you going to be sitting at that table with? And do you know them? Probably most of them. Are they people that are going to want to have this conversation with you? Are these people that you're going to need to address? And if you think they are, I always say to have some pre-planned scripts available, because when we are thrown off guard, asked a question, when we're not prepared, especially at like a family gathering, we don't know what to say. We get kind of like, speechless, so to say, and then the emotion comes in. And it's easier to have these conversations very matter-of-factly without emotion, like this is what I'm doing, this is what it is. It's not a topic of conversation, but to have a few of those scripts ready to go just in case. And then I would say absolutely everything Dr. Joy just said, I would like to second. And I love that you also talked about mindful eating, because I always talk about like we have to eat slowly, enjoy our food, and once again, if you're eating like it looks like you're eating at the table, like nobody's really going to say anything. But yes, we all have been in those situations where the family member is like, you didn't eat my cake, you didn't eat my stuffing. And I would just be prepared with some easy responses in the event that you do get those questions. Because we don't want to get thrown off guard.
For that.
The other thing, and this is like the truth bombing thing.
Yeah.
The truth is, it's really not about you. People's interest in what you're eating or how much they see that you're losing weight or something has changed about how much you're eating, and you have triggered something that they are thinking about them.
Yeah.
Right.
If you encounter Aunt Susie who made this delicious cake, and maybe she's got an issue about the cake, she wants to know why you're not eating it and how come she doesn't have that kind of self-discipline. In her mind, that's what she's thinking. If she's not eating cake, she has a self-discipline that I don't have, which is ridiculous. We all know this is like not the right mindset. Maybe Susie hasn't been working on it.
And she just wants to know that her cake is good.
Yeah. Or
like, oh, it was delicious. I had a bite of it.
Wants the validation. And so it's not about you. So what you can do is this pre-planned thing could be, remember that people are just looking for their own validation. So telling them, oh, I don't eat sugar. That, you know how that makes people feel, because how many times has someone said to you, oh yeah, I don't eat sugar, and you just want to wring their neck? Like, you don't want to trigger people.
You're like, why?
Like, validate. Oh my gosh, this cake is so delicious. I cannot wait to eat it when I get home later today. Oh my gosh,
good.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just validating other people's issues. If someone is like honed in on what you are eating, guarantee you it is not about you, it's about them. And so just keep that in mind when you're coming up with those responses. How do you just feed their little ego monster beast, because we all have one of those,
All of us.
We do.
like, quiet it down, like, okay, we're just gonna validate the heck out of you right now and move on, because it's really not about you.
Yeah.
That's so true. I think about sometimes, like, because I'm a baker. Oh, I feel some kind of way if you're not killing my cheesecake. So yeah.
Same. Yeah.
And it's not about them.
Experience. Yeah, I know.
It is not about them. I need to make sure my cheesecake
As a
tastes
baker.
good. Yeah.
But it is good. Your stuff's good.
Turn it on me. See?
And it feels bad if you've eaten two giant plates full of food and somebody else over here who seems to be living their best life made a very different choice from you. People like for their choices to be validated.
Yeah.
So if you skip the mac and cheese, but somebody else doesn't, and they got issues and hangups, they're going to be like feeling a type of way about that. They might ask questions. They might judge you. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with their relationship.
100% people. It doesn't. Because I feel like maybe I've been therapized. I've been counselized. I've been told, you know what? Check yourself, Kat. Right. So yeah.
Totally. Nice.
Yeah.
I like
so
that.
it's a give and take. Vice versa.
We definitely have, I would say, people at varying levels of their journey that follow the show. So obviously we've been doing about 18 months or so. Then we got on ABC Nightline, and that's been different. So we have lots of new people, right? That don't know you guys. They're still learning us, that have come in that are kind of at the beginning. And I think that you can kind of be in two camps if you're on a GLP-1 usually, right? Like maybe you've been on it for a while and you're kind of heading towards maintenance or getting towards maintenance, right? Or you're brand new. And I think sometimes people, if, it's sort of like when you're not drinking, people assume you're pregnant when you're at a certain age and married or something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that person, if you're usually drinking and then you drink and then, or you stop drinking, they're like, are you pregnant? Or you offer them a drink and you're like, no. It's that same sort of like feeling, I feel like. And like for me in the beginning, I wasn't telling everybody about this. And so I think there are a lot of people that do want to keep it to themselves and that may not have lost a lot of weight yet, but maybe are just kind of starting to, and they want to keep it very private because there is a tremendous amount of stigma and judgment around using these medications. And so like, if someone's going to say, are you on one of those weight loss shots? Right? Think about another idea or at the script. How are you going to handle that conversation? And, or if someone says you look great, right? Or they probably won't say that. They'll say, what are you doing? You lost some weight. What are you doing? People do that a lot, right?
Or are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. Right. Or maybe they've gone down further and they're very small, right? In comparison, in terms of like what's all relative to what they're used to. And they're like, aren't you going to stop now? Or isn't it time to stop now? Or aren't you going to get off of it now? Right. Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of those things. And you have to figure out, I think I deal with like the scripts of how you want to handle that. Right. I tell people, and this is like a tip for me, if you don't want to tell anybody and they say, what are you doing? Say that you're eating less and moving more. Because one, it'll likely appease them. Right.
True.
And two, you are. You are. If you're on these medicines, you are moving more and you are eating less. Like that's part of it. It's not the only part of it. We all know that it's treating a disease, but regardless, it is. So it's nobody's business. You wouldn't like shout to the world that you're on a blood pressure medicine at the Thanksgiving table. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's really not, if you're, you're not there to discuss all these things about your health. But I think when you're with family, right? Especially family that's been with you like from the get, right? Moms, dads, grandmas, all the things. People get nosy, and they start poking around. And I think this idea of like figuring out how you want to handle it and script, it's a good idea. Do you have any suggestions, Dr. Joy, of like types of things you can use for response?
Yeah, well, I think we've covered this in the past, and I crack up when I think about my response to this at the live event because I'm very sassy. I could be very sassy. So it totally depends on the person's tone, whether I'm willing to educate and support their journeys or whether they're really trying to be a jerk about it.
Totally.
I love for a quick answer, like literally, because it comes up a lot. When you've lost 200 pounds, I'm a very open person too. This comes up. Like if I'm shopping in the department store for a new gown, I can be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is, and the person's helping me, they find out and they want to know, complete stranger. I love eating less and moving more. It tends to end the conversation because people are like, oh, I know that story. They're not going to ask a ton of questions about that. I don't mind sharing the medical tools, but I totally understand people who opt not to tell. There's a lot of judgment and you don't owe that to anyone. If the person is being a jerk and they say things like, because they don't often ask, like, what are you doing? Because that question is fine to me personally. What question gets a sassy response from me is, have you done it yourself? Are you doing it on your own?
Yeah. Are you doing it the right way?
Are you doing, I'll get that one too. So in my response to those is there a way to do this where someone else does it for me? Or like, oh, please tell me the right way and the wrong way. I want to, please tell me that. Like, and the looks on their faces, it's like, oh, and they are moving on from me. Like they are not there hanging in for that conversation. And that's how I do it. I'm like, I'm happy to be open and talk about it. Either shut it down on the front end by eating less and moving more if I don't feel like talking about it, giving a more like comprehensive answer if I do, if the person has given me respect and they deserve it and I have time for it or the emotional bandwidth, or they get the, oh, please inform me. I don't know.
Nice.
I love that. And I think, something to just kind of highlight what you just said was to really know your audience, right? And I think that's what we have to think about is like, who's going to be there? And we don't always know, and we don't always know some of the people, and then think about what we are comfortable with, right? Like for you, Dr. Joy, you're very comfortable sharing what you're doing and, and your journey. And like Kim had said, some people early on in this journey may not be there yet, right? Or maybe it's not working for them exactly. I have clients that are on these medications and it's not really doing what it's doing for other people yet. And maybe you're not as confident in sharing that information yet and things like that. So I think thinking about your audience and what you're comfortable with. And like you said before, Dr. Joy, you don't owe this to anybody. And I think that's an important reminder that you have to be comfortable with what you're sharing, and you don't have to share everything. It's okay not to. It is your health, and that is a very personal thing. And whatever you are comfortable sharing is okay. And I like to tell people, like similar to what you said, Kim, you could just say like, I'm eating less, I'm being more mindful of what I'm eating. I'm making different health choices. I'm going to the gym. None of that is probably false, right? It just maybe isn't the full story, and that's okay. I do also think, because I often get interviewed about like when a celebrity shares that they're doing this or that, and people ask me, do they have to do that? And I often say they don't have to, but as a public figure though, it's actually really good when people share what they're doing, because then we see like, oh, wow, that person who is a public figure and probably has all this money to hire coaches and nutritionists and trainers and all this, and personal chefs still struggles, right? So I do also think that coming forward, if you're comfortable and sharing what you're doing, can also help break that stigma and help normalize it for people that are struggling on their own, right? Because if you, Kim, say, I'm moving more and eating less, somebody else might be doing that and might be like, oh, like she's doing it, that's working for her. Why isn't it working for me? Right.
Yeah, right.
So I think just thinking about that too, about that message that we're sharing. Now, it's not your job, of course, to like share that with the world and help somebody else. But I think it's helpful to keep that in mind. If you know that somebody else is also trying to get healthier and is struggling, maybe pull that person aside and be like, look, I wanted to share with you, I'm actually doing this. I'm seeking treatment. I'm getting help for my obesity. And that could be helpful also.
And here's a link to the Plus SideZ Podcast to learn more.
Exactly. Yes. And we talked about that recently on the podcast. Check it out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food has definitely been a very dominant voice in my head. That's not the main focus anymore. Dieting, exercising, and adding GLP-1s through Row is a game changer. I have such a sense of mental freedom since I started with Row. Food no longer controls my thoughts. Family time used to revolve around food, and now it revolves around what we're going to go do together.
Go ahead, Kat. Sorry.
So along those lines, eating and stress, let's talk about stress. This is also the season of overcommitting and stressing out. So what are some tools that we can help, that can help us get through each day, week, minute, second, and all that good stuff?
So I'm just going to jump in real quick, and just start with the fact that there's a lot of stress right now. There's a lot of emotions this time of year in general. And going back to kind of the first question about giving ourselves that grace, right? We are, feel those feelings. It's okay, right? You're not alone if you are feeling stressed right now. It is a tough time of year in general. And then what I'm going to say is that I often recommend that we have a coping toolbox full of tools that we can use when we need it. And this is a great time that if you don't already have your toolbox, to build your own toolbox of your go-tos. And what I recommend to have in your toolbox are at least 3 go-to tools that you can pull from when you're feeling stressed. The reason I say 3 is because 1 is not always going to work. So if I was like, Kim, you're my go-to person that I'm going to call when I'm stressed, and Kim, you're not available, what am I going to do? Right? If my go-to is running, which it is one of mine, and it's really bad weather, I might still go, but maybe I wouldn't go. What am I going to do? Right? So it's always helpful to have at least 1 tool that's internal that we don't need anything else for or anybody else for. And that's like a breathing exercise, a relaxation technique, a meditation, a mindfulness, an imagery, something like that. And I love breathing techniques because we can do them in the moment. Nobody needs to know we're doing it. You know, you're about to sit down to eat. You're about to walk in the door. You're about to have that conversation with the family member that you know is going to bring up your weight. Just take that deep breath. It's going to kind of reground us. It's going to bring us back to that kind of baseline and be able to be a little bit more relaxed and prepared for what's about to happen. But I think everybody that's listening, think about 1 tool to add to your toolbox right now. And everybody asks, like, what should I add? What should I add? And that question really, I turn back on you, because if you're not a runner, don't add running, right? Like, think about what is helpful to you, what helps you calm down, what helps you feel relaxed. It could be taking a walk outside, getting fresh air. Obviously, we know there's lots of benefit to being outside, getting sunlight, things like that, moving our bodies, calling friends, therapy. It could be any of these things, sewing, baking, you know, et cetera. But really, it's important to have our go-tos, because when we're stressed, it's really easy to turn to food and other things, which that's okay, but it's not okay if it's your only coping tool. We want to have a few coping tools.
Yeah, I love that. I think figuring out what that is for you, whether it's a walking outside, right, and the mindfulness and the movement, or the sun, or paying attention to other details, or connecting with other people in your life, there's plenty of things I think that you can do. And I think it's a good point. Figure out what works for you. Breathing is a big deal. And I know that Dr. Joy, I'm going to give you a segue there. We talk a lot about concentrating on the breath. Can you give us some specific examples?
Yeah, so I often say that my breath is my best friend, and I didn't know that I had my breath before this journey. This is a new friend for me, and when I tell you, when you can lean on your breath, it can literally get you through anything. Like, even like I took a road trip and I was really tired driving home after giving a speech yesterday, the 3 hours away. I'm driving at night and I just was like I'm breathing through this. I'm like, okay, I'm tired. Breath, you know, like, it centers me from everything to being triggered by a pile of Halloween candy to the stress of work or being tired or just anything. Anytime I want to connect with myself at all, I'm like, oh, my body is here. My breath is here. I have me. Ooh, there you are. It's literally a reminder of my existence. Like, it's a way to connect in. It's so much deeper than just like, oh, take a deep breath. Because that can be kind of annoying of advice when you're under high stress. Like, it sounds so minuscule, or like, come on now, the world is falling apart. You're asking me to breathe. Like,
Yeah.
I'm breathing, but truly, like, if you think of your breath in this whole new way, like, my breath is my best friend, and it is always there for me, like forever and a day. As long as I need it, it will be there. And it's just such a grounding thing. I also love like another one that I'll take is like self-care and self-love is way more than bubble baths and spa days, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Too.
Although very important.
They are nice.
Sliding into a hot tub of water is not about a bubble bath for me. Sliding into water is about connecting with the element of water, about being held by the energy of the earth, like submerged and held, and like the breath and the water holding me. So like, it's really a lot about how we frame these things. As Dr. Rachel talked about her CBT framework, it's all about how you think about the things that you're doing. Like, some people think of, I have to cook dinner for my family as like another chore, but also if you cook mindfully, that can be very meditative. I'm cutting onions, right? Cutting onions. I'm only thinking about the onions. I'm only thinking about measuring this flour. Like, look at this beautiful bounty that I have on my counter. If we're focused fully in on whatever we're doing and everything that it means, all the people that had to work to bring this bag of flour to your counter, that's a whole journey. The same as taking a bath and thinking about the element of water and being held by the earth is different from, I'm going to just soak in a hot bubble bath. It's everything can be meaningful and deep and an opportunity to connect if we think of it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Dr. Joy, because I talk to a lot of parents who tell me, like, I don't have time for self-care. I don't have time for this. And I often tell them what you just said is, when you're cooking, just be present, right? Use all of your senses and make it a moment of mindfulness, right? Or when you're in the shower, do the breathing, smell the soap. When you're washing your hands, feel the warm water, feel the soap, smell it. We can turn any of those everyday activities into moments where we are de-stressing and being present and being mindful. So I love that you do that, and that you gave those examples as well, because I share, very similar things.
I love that. I think other things like possibly to consider, and Kat, I know you may have some tips here from personal. Believe it or not, I very much like the Calm app and like bedtime stories, like finding a way to get some good calming sleep and not be dead scrolling, which I'm totes guilty of, like I think is a big deal. But I took the time I spent with prayer a lot, but some people may not pray. Maybe they're meditators, or maybe they just connect with a different energy, right? An energy exchange elsewhere. Yoga. I mean, just connecting with your body. There's lots of different things. For me, it was prayer therapy, my family and my close friends that knew me. And this journey is very, very emotional. I would say it's more of emotional than it is physical. Yeah, honestly, the physical almost takes care of itself, because you've been doing the eating and you've been doing the moving, and the medicine does the rest. Like, I mean, so what are you going to do with your brain, and how are you going to cope, and all of those different things. And that is a really big deal.
And kind of bring it back to thinking about the holidays, but related to what you just said, Kim, because you mentioned boundaries in a way, right? Like putting some boundaries up for yourself, putting that like boundary up that I'm not going to go on social media except this right now. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my family. And I think boundaries is really, really important when we're talking about holidays, right? Or talking about being with other people. Like, we have to protect ourselves. And I think that's an important thing going into this time, this season as well, to think about that also. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to not go to certain family members or events if it's not going to make you feel good and if it's not good for you. So, I like to remind people that saying no sometimes means saying yes to you, right? We can all say yes to everything and fill our plates and get so stressed and so overwhelmed and burnt out. Or we could sometimes say no and be like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And this is the time for me to do X, Y, Z to take care of myself. Obviously, you don't need to give a reason. But so to really think about how people are going to make you feel. And if it's a situation that you don't want to put yourself in, or you're not comfortable putting yourself in yet, the power of the word yet also, it's okay to say no this time. So I think just kind of thinking about your own boundaries, what you want to say, what you don't want to say, like Dr. Joy was saying before, if you want to go, if you don't want to go, just to think about these things ahead of time so you don't get thrown off guard. So kind of thinking about those boundaries is really important.
It might be good for us to like maybe make some content and some shorts about this too, so that people can kind of get it too, so we can get it across social, because some people aren't long form content people. So that's lovely. I know we're probably at time with you, Dr. Rachel. I thank you so much for joining. I really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And for all the tips and tricks that you've given us.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. I loved this conversation, and let's do it again.
Absolutely, we will. And I'll put you on places so people can follow you. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye. Dr. Joy, can
Dr.
you stay a
Joy.
few more minutes?
Can I ask you one other
Yeah.
question? Some of us have grown to apply this notion that we have to earn calories. You can especially, that can really be true during the holidays. And could you give us some tools that can help us reframe our thinking? That exercise really is not a punishment for what you've drank or eaten the day before.
No. Yeah. So I think that this is all, again, back to how we think about things. We are human beings, and food is required to fuel our bodies. For us to live, we have to eat. So food is not bad. And food has no moral value. No, there's no good foods. There's no bad foods. There are some foods that are really nutrient dense, that give our bodies lots of different things that it needs. And there are some foods that just give us lots of sugar, which our body also can use, or it might be heavy in fat, or might be calorie dense, whatever. They're just foods, okay? And our body is just going to process food the way that it does. It's what you do most days that matters most. So one big old Thanksgiving meal, even if you eat 4 times as many calories as you normally do, and even if you gain a little bit of temporary weight, if you just go back to your normal routine, that is going to work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
This notion that we are going to punish ourselves for eating certain things just feeds into the whole diet culture loop. Taking care of yourself is a privilege. It is a pleasure. It is a reward. Nothing about losing weight should feel like a punishment. It should feel every single day like a joyful celebration of your body and your love for yourself. I love something you said, or I think it was you, Kim, earlier, that said that food can be a part, or it was Dr. Rachel, food can be a part of your self-care plan. Like when I had a really rough week this week, I definitely leaned on sugar. The question is, are you only leaning on food? You never want to turn your back on your real needs and sub in a juicy steak or a piece of cake and say, now that's it. Feel better. Dust yourself off. Go out in the world and save the world. It doesn't matter how you feel. You ate, you're good. That's it. You had your cake. That's it. That's all you get. No. We're going to keep checking in with ourselves. We're going to keep showing ourselves love and taking care of ourselves in all the ways. Am I also tuning in to see how I really feel? And when we do things like punish ourselves with food, we are going right back into that, I am not worthy of this. We just need to stop that thinking, stop that train, and focus on the joyful part of taking care of ourselves. And food can be a part of that. Food is joyful and celebratory and delicious. I enjoy food way more now than I ever did when I was 337 pounds. 140-pound Joy loves to eat. I love to talk about food. I like to record myself making food content. I love food. Food is fun and delicious and comforting.
So liberating.
It is. And it doesn't have to be like, ooh, guilty. I ate all this. No. I'm going to wake up and show up for myself tomorrow, no matter what I ate today.
Yeah. I also just think me, as I love exercise. So exercise is like honoring your body, a good sweat. It makes me feel better. So
Did I say, Kat, you look so glamorous today.
thanks.
You look like you're about to go to an evening event.
Maybe. I don't know. I just felt like sparkling today.
Yeah, but your hair and makeup are very good.
Oh, thank you. I think a 6 a.m. workout does that for me. So
ooh, gives you a glow.
Super glowy.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Joy, I thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your presence. I really appreciate you and the work you do. So
I love you guys.
Thank
you so much for having me.
I'm sure if you guys have not watched Dr. Joy's The Easy Way Out podcast, I'm going to link it so that you can access it and learn all about her journey.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hasta la pasta. Thanks for joining us on the emotional sides of the plus sides.
Woohoo!
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.